Welcome into Jags A.M. Kainani Stevens here with Brian Sexton and John Oehser. As we soldier on past the combine, now it's a free agency focus as free agents are going to be on the market starting next week, and that's where we're going to look forward to. So let's start out with our big things. And big thing number one is the free agent focus. We've talked a little bit about the free agents on this team that are going to be probably hitting the open market. But Brian, when I look at this team, where do you want them to focus when they're looking at adding free agents to this roster?
Well, listen, the first thing they've got to do is get under the cap, which obviously they have a plan to get there. They're one of those handful of teams that still have to manage that before next week. You know, I'd like to see them do, John, what they did last year and go and find guys like Robert Hainsey, solid starters who come in at a reasonable number and don't just play well, but they bring something to the locker room. They bring some of that culture, some of that toughness, some of that style of play that the Jaguars want. And when you're looking at positions, we could spend the entire hour, do we have an hour? Talking about defense, just, where you could improve on the defensive line. How do you replace a Devin Lloyd and things like that? But I'm more of, instead of a position, I'm more focused on that mid-level guy because I thought they got so much from Hainsey last year, and the ability to grab a couple of those kinds of guys is really something I'm interested in.
Yeah, it was pretty loud around here last year, meaning, quietly loud, if you will. No front line break the market free agent, but they got Eric Murray, they got Jordan Lewis, they got Patrick McCarry. They made noise in early free agency last year to really solidify the roster. I don't think it's going to look like that. I think you may see one or two. The sense is they need to try to figure out penetrating defensive tackle, but I think it's going to be hard to find in free agency because if he's going to really disrupt, usually has to be pretty high end. So I think it's going to be quiet, but I do think they will try to do what Brian said, which is one or two guys that matter, that don't break the bank because I'm not sure there's enough bank to break.
Sure, let's talk about our big thing number two, which is the math ain't mathin', because at this point they don't have any cap space, right? So according to Sport Track, they have about $16 million over the cap. Now, there's a lot of people that paid a lot of money to make those numbers work and find a way, John. They have a lot of guys that can do that. Who is someone they can work with? They can extend certain people. They can rearrange the money. What's something they might do to try to open some stuff up?
Yeah, it's you would think Armstead's contract is in there. Anybody with signing bonus or with salary that you can turn into bonus and move down. Brian, I know you get the shivers when you hear that sort of thing because we all do. Anybody who was around the 90s when they went through salary cap. It's not going to be that, no. But they do have to mortgage the future a little bit to get into the cap. I think they'll keep that to a minimum because I get all these emails saying, well, they should just do what they did with Mahomes in Kansas City and free up $40 million. Well, at some point that comes back, so you have to manage that well. They'll do it. There will be restructurings in the coming weeks. In terms of specifics, it all kind of gets lost in the mid. They'll be on the team, so it's not that big of a deal to me who exactly restructuring is.
Yeah, there's two guys at the top of the chart. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence and Josh Hines-Allen have the biggest cap numbers, and that gives you an opportunity to convert because ostensibly both of those guys will be in Jacksonville for the long term. So you can take their, as John said, their salary, convert it to signing bonus, and then spread it out over the years of the salary cap. And you can do that breathing a sigh of relief because you believe that these are cornerstone guys. With a guy like Eric Armstead, who's going to be 33 years old, and you're thinking you're towards the end, you wouldn't do that. You would try to see if you could restructure his contract some way, maybe throw what they call a dummy year or two, but you wouldn't get too crazy and too creative with that because he's an older player and he's a free agent you brought in here. He's not one of your core guys. They could do something with Trayvon Walker. Right? They could create a contract for him, which would lower his $15 million cap number, call it $1 million, but you're talking now about making a substantial cornerstone sort of decision a year before you have to. They'll get there, and they'll have room to spare. But the other thing, Kai and John, is there are a lot of players on this roster that the Jaguars want to pay. So rather than diving into free agency, just a guy like Parker Washington. I always call him Patrick. But, guys like that you want to be here. Brenton Strange is another guy that you want around for the long term. Anton Harrison's going to come up. So there's a lot of cap things they can do, but they have to have those guys in mind too.
Yeah, those guys, though, won't necessarily lower the cap significantly, but you can keep their cap figure manageable going forward. But, Yeah, Brenton Strange and Parker Washington are two guys they need to get done this year. I think they will.
Absolutely. I'm sure if they haven't talked to them already, they are going to be doing that very soon. Our final big thing today is going to be on the road again, because coming up this week, they made an announcement that the Jaguars are going to play 2 games in London next year, and both of them are actually going to be home games, one at Wembley and one at Tottenham Stadium. And Mark Lamping here at the Jaguars explained a little bit about why they did that trade-off for 2 home games.
We were scheduled to play an additional game in 2030. We work with the league. The league has agreed to move that game to 2026. So what that means is we're getting a game back that will be in Jacksonville, in the new stadium, at full capacity, and we're giving up a game at reduced capacity in the stadium here, and it also helps us regarding the construction.
So next year, limited home games, limited capacity here at the stadium, at Everbank Stadium. So they're kind of doing a little switch around, Brian, trying to get back a game at new capacity at the new stadium in 2030, because obviously the Jaguars play there every year, but every 4 or 5 years, an NFL team has to play an international game. So they're trading that game back. But now only 6 home games next year, so that's kind of tough.
Yeah, it is. But as Mark said, it's about the trade-off. Mark explained it last Wednesday, and I've been explaining it, John. I'm sure you have too. Every day since, whether it's in line at Publix or at a Rotary Club or standing on the beach. I mean, everyone wants to know about this other league game. So the league changed something, and they said that every 8 years, a team has to give up a home game. Well, the Jaguars have been over there enough. They haven't been part of that. But now the league has changed the resolution, and every 4 years, and the Jaguars are on the books for 2027 and 2030. The Wembley thing is totally separate than this particular game that they call the resolution game. So moving it from 2030, when they're scheduled, to 2026 just seems reasonable to everyone involved. You're lower capacity here. You get the game back at a full capacity stadium in 2030. It just makes a lot of sense. And I get why people are questioning this. But the reality of it is it was the smart, reasonable decision for the Jaguars. The London games, Wembley stands alone. The resolution game is different, and the Jaguars have to give one up right now every 4 years.
Yeah, and a lot of people have asked me the same thing, and it always comes with the question, well, why are they punishing us twice? Well, that's the way some fans see it around here, but the league doesn't see the Wembley game as a punishment because the Jaguars want to play that game. So they don't really see that as, it's not keeping score and points off, points on. It's like Brian said, it's a separate deal. I think also it's important to remember, in order not to be away in 26 all games, they had to figure out some way to have some construction safety net here. And this is a way to get 4 or 5 weeks, they hope, away from Jacksonville where you have time to construct. And the argument I've heard with that as fans is, well, they should think about football first. Well, they are, but the big picture here was to try not to have a second season away from Jacksonville. So this was an effort to try to do that. Basically, in order to get that, it was hard to get 7 or 8 games at home that year. Mm-hmm. They had to sort of sacrifice 1 or 2 and only have 6. Anyway, I hope that explained that a little bit. But I know that was important to have a little bit of construction time during the season. That's one of the reasons that they wanted to move that game into this year too.
That's a good point, because with that construction time, they'll have the 2 games away in London, then it'll be a bye week most likely, and then an away game will give them a full month to do construction here at the stadium and kind of get everything in the works, because we all want to see what that new stadium is going to look like in the years to come. So stay with us here on Jags A.M. Coming up, we'll talk a little bit about what's been going on around the NFL elsewhere.
To everyone who craves a fresh meal made just for you, let our team member Jacob share what's special about Culver's.
In Wisconsin, our food comes from the heart, and taking the time to handcraft your meal with care is how we've always done it at Culver's. It's why your Butterburger doesn't touch the grill until after you order.
Come to Culver's and let us serve you a Butterburger, made special just for you. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
A bold change. A historic development is underway for the Bold City, and the Jacksonville Jaguars and team partners are a part of it. Introducing First and Forward, a development partner program highlighting the significant contributions made toward the transformative efforts to the city of Jacksonville. Thank you, Belter, Brooks Building Solutions, Jackson Electric Supply, Office Images, Sims Crane, Start Tech, and People's Gas. Championing progress on the field and in the community. The First and Forward program. The First Coast Forward Together. To learn more, visit jaguars.com/forward together.
Football may be in the offseason, but your appetite's still in midseason form. And at Daly's, our barbecue beef brisket sandwich is smoked low and slow. Tender, juicy, and packed with bold flavor. I'm telling you guys, it's delicious. It's a heavy hitter. It brings game day energy to any day of the week. So fuel up like a Jaguar. And me with Daly's barbecue brisket sandwich. Daly's, big flavor, no off-season.
The moment you drop off donations at a North Florida Goodwill, your things start new lives. A donated jersey helps someone suit up for success through education and training. A pair of old cleats helps a job seeker step confidently into new career opportunities. Every donation fuels Goodwill's mission to provide education, training, and career opportunities, removing barriers to employment and building brighter futures across our community. To find your nearest donation center and learn more, visit goodwillnorthfl.org. Goodwill, where your things start new lives. Jaguars fans, Honda is bringing the heat to Ride Now Jacksonville. Their showroom is packed with Honda on- and off-road models, including the new 2025 CBR 500R ABS. Light, quick, and built for everyday excitement. For a limited time, receive up to $1,500 in Honda bonus bucks on select 2024, 25, and 26 Honda models. Inventory is here. The deals are live, and your next ride is waiting at Ride Now Jacksonville. Go Jags. OAC, always wear a helmet. Eye protection and protective clothing. Never ride after consuming drugs or alcohol. Never use the street as a racetrack. At GEHA, they stand behind their members because they were founded by members. So with zero shareholders to mind, GEHA keeps their members in mind by offering a health plan for every stage of life, plus hearing and fitness discounts. At GEHA, one thing is clear. Your health isn't their business, it's their purpose. That's why GEHA has been trusted by millions of federal employees and retirees across the country since 1937. Visit GEHA.com to find your federal health plan.
Welcome back into Jags A.M. today as we get ready for free agency next week. We are just, I think I'm excited to get back into football a little bit. It was a little weird last week. We didn't go to the Combine, which we normally do, and that's kind of the swing back into things, but it's a reminder as well. We don't have a first-round draft pick, so things are going to be a lot different here this year.
Yeah, I'm used to getting ready to go to wherever the draft is, in Pittsburgh, and we're used to having a big draft day party here at the stadium, but obviously those things don't factor into it as well. Everything's different around here this year.
Yeah, it's when you went after Travis Hunter last year and when you went after free agency the way you did, you sort of made sure that your splash off season was 25 and your 26 off season was lower key, sort of maintaining what you hoped you built in 25. The good news is they built it.
Yeah.
And you're 13-4, so you did get to a point where you can have an off season. I don't call it maintenance, but maybe that's what it is, where you sort of can just monitor things and tweak rather than have to have the splash moves to get there. I think this is the off season where you calm it, and then you can act like a normal. Once they've got the cap in order, the draft picks back, you can have some more, off seasons like we're used to starting in 27.
I think we'll have a little more of an idea with free agency, whatever they tend to do, to give us a little bit more of an idea of what they might be focusing on in the draft. Because right now we can make what we think, our projections, what we think might happen. We don't really know that yet. So I think that always gives you a little more focus, seeing what they address in free agency, because then that'll kind of give you a heads up as where they're going to be for the draft. But let's look around the league, see what else is going on right now. We'll check in the division. The Colts have a lot going on. Daniel Jones not signed as of yet. That seems to be what they're going to go after with quarterback. As Anthony Richardson has said he wants to trade. I think they were kind of done with that anyway, or seeking a trade. But then also Alec Pierce is someone you might be wanting to franchise tag. They haven't used the tag yet. I don't know if they're going to use that today. Today's the last day, John. I think they can do that.
Yeah, today's the last day. Look, storylines of franchises sort of evolve over decades, right? The Colts were the quarterback franchise for what? from 99 until Luck retired in 2015, whatever the date was. And when I was up there, people knew they were blessed to have a quarterback in Peyton Manning. And people would walk around the building saying, hey, don't forget, this is not normal, meaning this kind of consistency. And boy, have they paid for it at quarterback since, right? I mean, and they are a franchise, maybe the model franchise right now for years and years of trying to get that position right, and it's hard. And the Daniel Jones thing is interesting. I mean, he was great when he played last year. That Achilles can be tricky to come back from. Do they know what he was going to be? I think they have to because they committed to it last year.
The timing of the injury is what really hurts them. I mean, if it had happened in September,
late in the year.
yeah, you might be moving on because you hadn't had enough of a sample size. Or October, maybe you had enough of a sample size. You have a comfort level with where Daniel Jones is. I'm interested, and I know that they're different sports and different positions, but Jason Tatum, the Boston Celtics star, is 42 weeks removed from tearing his Achilles in the NBA playoffs last year. And I've kind of been monitoring that while reading the Daniel Jones stuff because Tatum, Kai, is at a point where they're talking about him being back in time for the playoffs, maybe before the playoffs. And that you would think might be a more difficult position to play, a difficult sport to play with Achilles. So it seems to me, John, like they're all in on Daniel Jones. And the question mark is how much are you paying him and how are you structuring the contract? Because they like who he is. And the other thing that I've heard, and you guys probably have too, is they're keeping Alec Pierce because Pierce and Jones are a great tandem and they're going to figure out a way to make that one work.
Yeah, I kind of think they have to be all in on Jones just because they went after the cornerback last year, gave up the 2 first-round picks. If you're not all in on Jones, what are you all in on? So they're an interesting franchise because they were really good when he was right. But you're playing on a timeline with the running back because they don't last forever. No. So I would rather have Trevor Lawrence situation than the Colts situation.
Now, it's worth pointing out the other great quarterback franchise has been the Packers. They had Favre, they drafted Rodgers, they drafted Love, right? Which caused a problem with Rodgers. If the Colts are sitting in the second round and there's a quarterback there, I think you have to take him. I think you have to be at a position where you start to reestablish some quarterback depth just in case.
Is he good? The guy they're going to take?
I don't know.
Right.
That's the gamble.
It's the gamble. But
they're that franchise. Yeah. Every year they have dipped a toe, and they haven't come up with the right guy yet. So.
As we look elsewhere in the division, the Titans trade T'Vondre Sweat up to the Jets, Jermaine Johnson back with Robert Saleh, who's coach in New York. And they have a lot of cap space, opposite of us. So they have a ton of cap space. It feels like Saleh's going to try and get his guys in there. T'Vondre Sweat, a giant human being, but apparently didn't fit in with what they were trying to do.
No, to me, this is just okay, I'll take your guy, you take my guy. I think it helps the Jaguars not to have that guy, lined up in the middle of the line, but neither here nor there. I do know this, the money that they have to spend can either take them to a place where they're competitive or it can bury them. And the Jaguars are a case study on misspending, taking too many chances. It seemed forever they were in free agency thinking we're going to fix it. All this year, Saleh saw some of that when he was here with Gus Bradley. I would think that he would want to spend wisely.
Yeah, it's free agency is a dangerous drug, though.
Yeah, it is.
Meaning when you've got that money to spend and you've got pressure, this is a franchise that was consistent for 30 years, basically, and is now, I'll say it like it is, they're where the Jaguars were in the sort of abyss of the last 15 years, meaning they're down, they now have a quarterback, they have draft capital, and they have free agency capital. As you said, Brian, we've seen where if you try to do everything in one off season, it's very tempting because you get the money. So they're an interesting franchise. We've seen here, when you hit that low, it can be harder to pull out than it ought to be. Them trying to pull out is the storyline for the next year or so.
You've always called it, it's like your foot stuck in a puddle of mud.
Yeah.
And trying to break that suction and get free. And it took the Jaguars a long time to do it because they put themselves in a tough spot with free agents. Saleh was in New York when they had a bunch of picks, and they drafted very well on the defensive side of the ball. Jermaine Johnson was one of them. Mike Borgonzi, the general manager, who came from Kansas City, where they drafted. Hopefully, if you're Saleh, that's where they're going.
And I think one final note on that, it's important to credit what the Jaguars did last offseason, because that's the right way to try to get out of the abyss, meaning Hainsey, McCarry, Jordan Lewis. None of those guys are probably going to the Hall of Fame.
Nope.
But they are really good culture players you could afford and gradually get out of it along with drafting well. It's harder to do that than it ought to be.
There's also one other factor in it, and people don't necessarily always take it into account. You have to spend to a certain percentage of the cap on a 3-year rolling average. So they've got all this money, and it's not like they can bank it and keep flipping it. They have to spend to get the revenue sharing in the NFL. They're required to spend, I believe it's 90% of the cap on a 3-year rolling average. So they got this money, and they got to spend some of it. So you got to be really careful on where you spend it.
Money burning a hole in their pocket.
Yep.
We're going to keep an eye and see what they actually end up spending it on. Elsewhere in the division, the Texans trading for Lions running back David Montgomery, sending a bunch of picks their way. And that was a little bit interesting to me, their addition there. I felt like, obviously, they had the whole thing with Joe Mixon. I don't think anybody ever figured out what that was about with his foot injury, didn't play. But they got a lot of good play out of Woody Marks, and obviously David Montgomery was really successful with what he's done in Detroit, but he's on his 8th year now. So it was an interesting trade for me. I think he could be really great, but also they're shipping out a ton of their offensive linemen, so I'm not really sure what the Texans are doing there either. It seems like they're kind of trying to, obviously their defense is tremendous, but they're trying to overhaul this offense and get it tinkered into the right way.
They're in a tough spot because what C.J. Stroud is right now is more uncertain than we thought it would be a couple years ago.
Sure.
So they're trying to tinker with the offense. David Montgomery's a really good player. Ran into a situation in Detroit where the other kid was playing just so much better that his opportunities were sort of limited. 8th-year running back. I expect him to matter for the Texans. He fits what they like to do. But to me, the storyline for the Texans is C.J. Stroud a lead or not? And that will determine, to me, whether they can be a Super Bowl team or a team with a very good defense fighting to get there.
Well, they've got to make a decision on a 5th-year option with C.J. Stroud, and John alluded to it. It's a big decision for them. He was really good, and then they got Joe Mixon, and I thought he played great. And then last year, he didn't have a terrific running game. You mentioned Woody Marks and Nick Chubb they brought in, and they were good enough. But Mixon was a difference maker in 2024, and that's what they're trying to get here with Montgomery. And you hope an 8-year guy with Woody Marks can be that banger that Mixon was when he came in. He's not quite as big, he's not quite as fast, but he's a really good football player if you use him the right way. This is all about C.J. Stroud and trying to figure out a way to make him effective while they have that defense, Kai, because that defense will start to piecemeal itself away as they start paying the top players and have to retool the secondary.
Yeah, it's really a tough spot they're in. Is defense, those elite defenses that carry it, which they are. They're they were the team in the postseason that I thought the Jaguars would have the toughest matchup against because that defense is dominant. But dominant defenses, as we saw in 17 around here, shelf life is more limited than when you're built around a quarterback.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with C.J. Stroud also. Just when we saw the back half of the season after out with that injury, not running as much either, so I think that's also limiting his game. But we'll keep an eye and see what they end up doing with the extensions. Obviously, he'll be there for a little bit longer, but something to keep an eye on. Stay with us here on Jags A.M. We're going to do some Ozone mailbag questions as John shares his wisdom with us after the break.
Renewal by Andersen is kicking off their 31-day spring savings event. For a limited time, buy 2 replacement windows or doors and get the third 60% off. Plus, enjoy 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 18 months. Our acclaimed impact windows are built for Florida, helping reduce energy costs and keeping your home comfortable all year long. Offer ends March 31st. Restrictions apply. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free in-home consultation. License CGC 1527613. Renewal by Andersen, where comfort meets savings.
To everyone who craves a fresh meal made just for you, let our team member Jacob share what's special about Culver's.
In Wisconsin, our food comes from the heart, and taking the time to handcraft your meal with care is how we've always done it at Culver's. It's why your Butterburger doesn't touch the grill until after you order.
Come to Culver's and let us serve you a Butterburger, made special just for you. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
I'm Foye Oluwakim from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Driving distracted or under the influence is dangerous for you, and it's dangerous for everyone on the road around you. Ride with Do Not Disturb. That call, text, or social media message can wait. Choose your music before you turn the ignition. Anytime your eyes are not on the road ahead, you're distracted, so pay attention. Remember, drive high equals DUI. Plan ahead. Have a designated driver or get a ride home. Keep a clear head to see clear ahead, and let's get everyone home safely.
Frank Frangie here. When you think of barbecue in Jacksonville, it's got to be Bono's Pit Barbecue. For over 75 years, Bono's has been smoking Jacksonville's favorite barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So go to bonosbarbecue.com or call their fantastic catering department at 904-332-7427. That's 904-332-7427. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Hun, there's something in the drain.
Water?
Very funny. The sink is clogged.
Again? I just pulled a bunch of hair out of it.
Well, I think we need to call in the pros.
Okay, call these guys? Quack, quack.
Only if you mean Duck Duck Rooter.
Duck Duck Rooter, your local plumbing professionals and proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. DuckDuckRooter.com.
When you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769.
It's Truck Month with the Ford Crew.
Care for a Truck Month trivia contest, Sam?
Oh, you know I can't resist, Hank.
Okay, fact. Truck Month happens only once a year.
Fact, it's the best time to buy a new Ford truck.
Fact, Ford F-Series is the best-selling lineup of trucks in America for 49 years.
Fact, America loves Ford Truck Month.
Fact, I agree with that fact.
Based on 1977 to 2025 CY Industry reported total sales.
This broadcast is ozone friendly.
Ozone.
Welcome back to Jags A.M. today. Obviously, it's the off-season, so John Oehser is getting a lot of ozone questions. We're going to go over some of them with you today and give you the answers that he brought to his viewers. So first one is Bradley from Death Valley, California. He says, Jaguars wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. has elite size, speed, and athletic ability, had an elite rookie year, but the regression this past year is concerning, but I think he bounces back. How serious are the Jaguars about trading BTJ?
Yeah, there's always a trade, I don't even call them rumors anymore, trade stories out there that when you look at it, it's like, okay, well, somebody from Pittsburgh said that there was interest from the Steelers in interest in. So I don't doubt that there are teams who look at Brian Thomas Jr. and say, I'd be interested in having that. I don't think there's significant interest on the Jaguars' part. There's a price for everything.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily they're sitting back there going, we need to move this. Because I think they like the regression that he talked about was in the first 7 or 8 games of the season. In the second half, things started looking better for this receiving core as a whole. James Gladstone talked after the regular season about having 3 or 4 guys in the passing offense, and BTJ's ability to stretch the field and draw defenses was a big part of that. The question you have, if in theory you're trying to get rid of Brian Thomas Jr., I'm saying a reader asking me about that, what are you replacing him with? You know, if you trade him for a second-round pick, are you getting better than him when you go try to replace it? You better be able to find somebody who's stretching and straining the defense if you're going to get rid of him. So I don't think they're very serious at all.
No, a couple thoughts on this. The first that stands out to me is we're just redefining his role, right? I mean, we thought he was that one alpha, the offense rolls through him. But as you just said, James Gladstone really likes the idea of having 3 or 4 guys at 700 yards, which they had last year. 4 guys at 500, I think, was the number. So while he may not be that alpha 1 dominant all-pro wide receiver, he's a big part of what they do on offense. And the other thing is, and it's this trend, and I don't know whether it's social media or media in general, but might be. You see these headlines now, and it's just somebody speculating. You know, who matches up? Who needs it? Oh, the Bills need a receiver. Well, where might that make sense? Well, Brian Thomas Jr. wasn't the dominant player, and they didn't draft him. There's just a lot of speculation, and you click on these things that are clickbait now, and there's so much just possibly could, might, maybe, There's nothing hard news to it at all. So
I might win the lottery. I keep waiting.
Yeah.
And so far, no.
You keep showing up at work.
So my code keeps working, which is good.
Kai could be going to Sunday Night Football. She's certainly talented enough, but you just don't know. People just throw things out there, and I don't see why you'd want, especially because you don't have to pay him this year. It's not like you're up against the contract where he's going to cost you $20 million to keep.
That's what it comes down to me. He's on a rookie deal still.
He makes sense to keep right here because he's talented, because he's cost effective, and because he's part of an offense that could really use his talent.
And I think the important thing to remember about him too, no, the numbers weren't there, but the plays and the moments were.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure they beat Houston without him here.
Or Kansas City.
I'm not sure they beat Kansas City without him. So when you have offensive guys who make that play in that moment that win a game for you, before you get rid of it, you ask yourself, where am I getting that from if he's not here? I think BTJ fits into that. And look, we've seen the potential. We've seen what he can do.
All right, second one's about Travis Hunter's rehab. Bruce from St. Simons Island in Georgia says, does wide receiver cornerback Travis Hunter's injury last year potentially affect his quickness and agility for this season? Or do today's advanced medical procedures, aka Tommy John and such, mean that Hunter will retain his abilities? This is obviously for Dr. O here.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor. My nickname was Dr. O in
youth basketball?
In high school.
Yeah.
It was an ironic nickname more than anything because I was not the doctor. But look, any injury to a knee has a chance to wear and tear and erode quickness and agility. I mean, that's why players aren't as good when they're 35. The body wears out. But I don't sense that there's any concern around the building that when he comes back next year, you're going to see a player who's not as quick and agile as he was when they drafted him. I don't think there's any concern that he's not going to be the player that he was before. It's always a risk when there's surgery involved and when there's an injury. But I don't sense that as a huge concern. You guys may have heard different, but I think they think he's going to be the player that he was.
I've never known what the term ahead of schedule means with respect to surgery, especially knee surgery. But I keep hearing that he looks good and he's ahead of schedule. I haven't seen it. But they said when they announced that he was not going to play the rest of last year, that they fully expected that he would be ready to go when OTAs got started. So I don't doubt that he is doing well and that his recovery is at least on track, and they expect him to come back. If only because when they have talked about him this year, they have talked about him still being a guy who can play on both sides of the ball, who not just play on both sides of the ball, but be a factor on both sides of the ball. And if that's the case, if they really believe that, they're telling you they don't have many concerns about him.
And my sense is the bigger storyline with Travis is going to remain usage. I think once he gets going in training camp, the physical part will not be the issue. It'll again be exactly how they're going to use him, and that'll be the storyline we watch.
Yeah, I think that's the most tantalizing part of him. Do you need him on offense this week? Do you need him on defense this week? What do you need?
And a year with the playbooks on both sides, so that can't hurt either. That's certainly going to help him. But yeah, from all we've heard so far, rehab has been going as planned, and we should see him back on the field when they start their off-season program soon. So we're going to close things out. We'll go to Michael from Orange Park, Florida, who says, Ozone, where are we playing in 27? Why are they delaying this?
Well, I don't know where they're playing. Because
Tell
they
us,
don't know.
Ozone. Tell us.
They're delaying this because it has to be voted on by NFL owners by rule, and that'll happen at the owners' meetings in Phoenix at the end of March. It'll be Orlando or Gainesville. Yeah. I don't have a great sense that I'm comfortable enough to share on the air about where it'll be, but I think we'll know within 3 weeks.
I've seen the stories out of Orlando and how aggressive they have been in trying to make a deal. But until the owners vote on it, the Jaguars can't say anything about it. They just have to let that process play out. Now, once they decide, you're going to hear about it. You can be sure you're going to be hearing about it.
All right.
And guess what? They don't play until 27, so there's still
we still have to wait till then anyway.
Yeah, and there's a lot on the to-do list to be able to play here in 2026.
Yes, so there's a lot to go down, but the answer is, short answer, 3 weeks, they'll vote on it, and then we will know for sure. But stay with us here on Jags A.M. We'll tell you what's coming up the rest of this week and then going into free agency next week.
Renewal by Andersen is kicking off their 31-day spring savings event. For a limited time, buy 2 replacement windows or doors and get the third 60% off. Plus, enjoy 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 18 months. Our acclaimed impact windows are built for Florida, helping reduce energy costs and keeping your home comfortable all year long. Offer ends March 31st. Restrictions apply. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free in-home consultation. License CGC 1527613. Renewal by Andersen, where comfort meets savings.
Jaguars fans, Honda is bringing the heat to Ride Now Jacksonville. Their showroom is packed with Honda on- and off-road models, including the new 2025 CBR 500R ABS. Light, quick, and built for everyday excitement. For a limited time, receive up to $1,500 in Honda bonus bucks on select 2024, 25, and 26 Honda models. Inventory is here. The deals are live, and your next ride is waiting at Ride Now Jacksonville. Go Jags. OAC, always wear a helmet. Eye protection and protective clothing. Never ride after consuming drugs or alcohol. Never use the street as a racetrack.
Floridians, do you know how close you are to freshness? It's not a plane or a ship ride away. It's not across an ocean or over the equator. It's not even a far drive. The peak of freshness is at your grocery store, and it's called Fresh from Florida. Fresh from Florida is local produce grown by farmers right here in our own state, meaning it's always fresh, always in season, and always mouth-wateringly good. Look for the sunny Fresh from Florida logo or ask for it by name where you shop.
This season, the road to kickoff starts at Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars. From Bay Meadows to Arlington to Westside, Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram is locally owned and proud to serve the First Coast with real pricing and a lifetime powertrain warranty at no extra cost. And let's be honest, there's no vehicle better built for tailgating than a Jeep or a Ram. Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, Bay Meadows, Arlington, and Westside. 3 locations, 1 legendary team.
Hey Jaguars fans, Thrive Infusions is Jacksonville's premier med spa for hydration, recovery, and performance. Whether you visit in-spa or book mobile IV therapy right to your door, they've got you covered. Their IV vitamin infusions help with hangovers, jet lag, dehydration, and overall wellness, keeping you energized and ready to go. Plus, with treatments like M-Sculpt Neo to build muscle and burn fat, and hydrofacials for glowing, healthy skin, they'll help you look and feel your best. Visit Thrive Infusions today and keep Jacksonville thriving on and off the field.
Football may be in the offseason, but your appetite's still in midseason form. And at Daly's, our barbecue beef brisket sandwich is smoked low and slow. Tender, juicy, and packed with bold flavor. I'm telling you guys, it's delicious. It's a heavy hitter. It brings game day energy to any day of the week. So fill up like a Jaguar. And me with Daly's barbecue brisket sandwich. Daly's, big flavor, no offseason.
Jags fans, it's time to lock in your seats for 2026 by placing your deposits now. Next season will be played at Everbank Stadium, but limited capacity, obviously, so you want to get in there early and get your spot. Don't miss out on your chance to see the biggest matchups this season. Place that deposit, get in there, get your tickets. Go to jaguars.com/tickets. You can also call in. It's going to be fun.
You know, a piece of news that I think just escaped last week from Mark's press conference was the atmosphere that they expect. You know, they
absolutely. It's back to what you expect out of a Jaguars game. The back end of that season.
Primarily Jaguars fans.
Back end of that season. You think about Monday Night Football. You think about that playoff game. Yep. The crowds were the best part of some of those games, and to have that back now and have a team that's worth watching every single week, you want to be there to see it. Especially sometimes with smaller crowds, I feel like it can be a little more voracious as well. So like it's like a little bit, it feels like it's on top of you a little bit. I think it'll be a cool environment for sure.
Well, plus it's reduced, but it's reduced to 43. It's not the 27 that you had in San Diego or LA back in the day. There will still be. I expect the energy to be out of this world for the games that are here.
Absolutely. So that's something to keep an eye on for us. Franchise tag time is up today, so we'll keep an eye on that. I don't expect anything here, but just elsewhere around the league. And then what's the timeline for free agency next week, John?
Well, the negotiating period begins Monday, and then free agency technically starts at 4 p.m. Wednesday, and it'll be one of those our awkward time of the year here because the news will be flying Monday and Tuesday. Officially, on the website, we'll report at 4 on Wednesday when it actually happens because of the league rules. But all the fun stuff is Monday and Tuesday.
Well, pay attention, obviously, because the Jaguars have some work to do to get under the cap.
So we'll be here with you at some point next week, not sure if it's Tuesday or Wednesday, but to talk a little bit about free agency, what the team plans on doing. But we'll obviously have you covered on Jaguars.com as well, so always check there for your latest info. And we'll see you next week on Jags A.M.